Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to Congregation Kol Ami. Welcome, everyone. My name is Rabbi Ross Levy. I'm the assistant rabbi here at Congregation Kol Ami. Welcome to those of you in person with us in our sanctuary. Welcome to those of you joining us online. I'm thrilled to be joined this evening by our accompanist and musical director, Lisa Edwards, as well as our student rabbi, Frankie Salzman. It's a very exciting time. It's our first time leading services together, so we're very grateful that Frankie is on the team and very grateful that we get to spend this Shabbat together. We'll begin, for those of you joining us in person, we're using these gold Mishkan Halev prayer books, which are special for this season, this month of Elul, for Slichot as well. And we'll begin on page 6. Before we slip too quickly into the season of the soul, let there be a Sabbath of Sabbaths for the heart. Before the music of creation's majesty, let there be a silent praise of existence. Before the feast of sanctified words, let there be a poetry of solitude. Before we enter the palaces of prayer, let us find within ourselves a place of calm. Before we revel in the wondrous and sublime, let there be an honest inward gaze. Before the rites and ceremonies of awe, let there be quieter days, an island of attentiveness. So as we find ourselves in this island, this special month of Elul, as we prepare ourselves for the High Holy Day season, there are many different special readings and texts and some melodies that come with this month and this season. Just as during the High Holy Days, we have our special melodies. There are many different melodies written for Elul. One of which that I wanted to share with you tonight is a nigun, a wordless melody. The practice of singing and chanting wordless melodies comes to us from the Hasidic tradition. From Eastern Europe, and this is a nigun specifically written for the month of Elul. So we'll sing it together a couple times, then I'll invite Lisa to join us. Try that with me. Yiddy die die da die 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 da die 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 da die 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 die. One more time. Yiddy die die da die 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 da die 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 da die 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 die. You can end with O, you can end with I. Yiddy die die da die 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 da die 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 da die 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 oh. Yiddy die die da die 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 da die 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 da die 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 oh. This is the second part. Yiddy die 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 oh. Yiddy die 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 oh. Let's try that together. Yiddy die 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 oh. Yiddy die 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 oh. One more time. Yiddy die 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 oh. Let's put it all together. If you know it, sing along. If you don't, sing anyway.
We now invite up Joe Zipkin in the memory of his husband, Rick Lead, to light our Shabbat candles for us. You can find our blessing on page 11.
Shabbat Shalom. In the beginning, emptiness and chaos, a great darkness over the deep. The Spirit of God moved over the waters. Explosion of light. The long chain of emerging life. Behold, it was very good. These candles evoke the very first light. Out of the darkness came reason, purpose, conscientiousness of beauty, the power to discern and do what is right. Let us hold the light in our hearts. Let us bring it with us into the darkest corners of creation, where there is pain and fear. Let us offer the light of love. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitjana b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu l'had nikner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kideshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you who commands us to kindle the lights of Shabbat. Now invite Joe to please lift our Kiddush cup as we turn to page 12. Welcome in Shabbat with a little bit of the taste of sweetness, the sweetness of wine or grape juice. If you're joining us from home, I encourage you to grab some wine or some grape juice as well. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila l'mikra'i kodesh, zeicher litziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat lechaim. You can go ahead and take a sip for us, Joe. And thank you. Joe was also the chair of the committee for our gala this past spring and did a marvelous job. So thank you, Joe, for all you do on behalf of our community. We'll continue with song and with joy to welcome in the presence of Shabbat as we turn to page 22 for Lecha Dodi. And as a reminder, once we reach the final verse, which although there's 4 verses here, the full poem is 9 verses. Upon reaching the final verse, we'll invite everyone to rise and face the entrance as a way of formally and symbolically welcoming in the Sabbath bride, the presence of Shabbat that is there waiting for us each week, even with all the messes that might be happening during the week. Shabbat is always there, and Shabbat is never there to judge us. So, page 22, Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat Kabbalah. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat Kabbalah. Shamo v'zachor b'dibor echad, Yishmi'anu elam yuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shemo tiferet v'leitchila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat Kabbalah. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat Kabbalah. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor ha'beracha. Merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat Kabbalah. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat Kabbalah. Hitoreri, hitoreri, ki va'orech kuli uri, uri, shidaberi, kvod Adonai, Adonayich nigla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala Shabbat Kabbalah Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah.
Please rise as we face the Sabbath bride.
Boi v'shalom ateret bala gam besimcha uvetzola toch ebnei am segula boi chalam lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah. Having welcomed in Shabbat, I encourage you to turn and welcome one another. See some new faces, so be sure to introduce yourselves. And I invite all of you to welcome each other online. Of course, Shabbat Shalom, Mom and Dad. Tuning in from Nashville, Tennessee. Shabbat Shalom to all the Kol Ami members and all the greater Kol Ami family joining us online. As we make our way back to our seats, I invite everyone to please rise as they are able, as we join together for our call to prayer at the beginning of our service this evening on page 26, the Baruch Hu. Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed Yai Lai Lai Yai Lai 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 Yai Lai 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 Lai. You may be seated.
We turn to the bottom of page 31. Open up our eyes. Teach us how to live. Fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. We turn to page 34, 32, the following page, as we rise for the Shema.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. You're welcome to be seated. Continue on the following page. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. On the following page. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
And we continue on the next page, page 38, as we read together the English. Truth and faith.
These are fundamental to our existence. God alone is their source, and we are Israel, a people of God. Our sovereign saves us from tyranny, redeems us from its violence through countless wonders, from its brutality through great feats beyond measure. We are Israel, a people of God, the giver of life, who would not let our feet give way, the maker of miracles for us against Pharaoh, of signs and portents in the land of Egypt, the one who brought our people Israel from its mist to enduring freedom. We'll continue on the following page, page 40, with our song of freedom, this song of rejoicing coming from the book of Exodus, Mi Chamocha. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha netar b'kodesh, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha netar b'kodesh. Nora te'ilo osef elei, nora te'ilo osef elei, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Malchutecha ra'u b'nezach, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze Eli anu ve'amru, ze Eli anu ve'ameru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Yelelais. Yai la lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai la lai, yai la lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai, yai la lai lai, yai lai lai, yai la la lai, yai la lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai, yai lai lai. This past Shabbat, this past week, I had the honor and privilege to lead a gathering of folks over at Elysian Park for a little bit of a Shabbat hike. And we were talking about the themes of Elul, specifically this idea, you'll often hear it as being said, the king or the queen, the sovereign is in the field. The idea that God, who is enthroned in the high holy days, we talk about God as being a queen, as being a king, as sitting on a throne distance far away from us. That actually, over the course of this month, God is very near to us. God is out in the field with God's subjects, perusing and watching people as they prepare for these big days. And we talked about the balance between the Hebrew words din and chesed, the balance between din, meaning judgment, and chesed, meaning kindness. And one of the ways of understanding the word tefillah, meaning prayer, or lehitpalel, to pray, is that it comes from the Hebrew word, one of the Hebrew roots meaning to judge. And one of my classmates from rabbinical school was very quick to point out that when we are praying, we're sort of judging ourselves. And that's a lot of what happens during this month of Elul. We're engaging in this process of cheshbon hanefesh, of an accounting of the soul. And a lot of that means confronting times when we maybe didn't live up to our own expectations, we didn't live up to other people's expectations of us. And with that, there is a sense of judgment. There is a sense of looking at ourselves and sort of anticipating the divine judgment that we talk about during Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. But I think it's important to remember that God is also a God of chesed, that as we look, as we turn inward, and we see these parts of ourselves or actions in the past that we may not be really proud of, that we also meet ourselves with a little bit of chesed, a little bit of kindness, a little bit of rachamim, a little bit of compassion. That as we're engaging in this process, we're still committing ourselves to being better, to doing better the next time, but that we're offering ourselves some compassion and even forgiving ourselves for those times when we weren't at our best, because at the end of the day, we are only human. And I hope that we can think on that as we move into the tefillah, into the central prayer text of our service, beginning on page 48 with Adonai Sfatai. And for those who may be new to our community, our practice is that we'll rise and sing together Adonai Sfatai, then you're welcome to continue with your own prayers, whether they be the prayers of the Siddur, of the prayer book, the words passed down to us by our ancestors, or with the prayers that originate within your own heart, within your own soul. So page 48, ask that we all please rise as we are able. Ya na 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 Adonai. Ya na 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 Sfatai tiftach. Ya na 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 Ufi yagin. Ufi yagin tehilatecha. Ya na 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 Adonai. Ya na 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 Sfatai tiftach. Ya na 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 Ufi yagin. Ufi yagin tehilatecha. Ya na 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 Adonai. Ya na 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 Sfatai tiftach. Ya na 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 Ufi yagin. Ufi yagin tehilatecha. Ya na 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 Adonai. Ya na 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 Sfatai tiftach. Ya na 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 Ufi yagin. Ufi yagin tehilatecha. words for Echad Sha'alti can be found in your insert. Echad Sha'alti me'et Adonai. Echad Sha'alti otavakesh. Try that with me. Echad Sha'alti me'et Adonai. You sound so beautiful. Echad Sha'alti otavakesh. Shivti, Shivti, beveit Adonai. Shivti, Shivti, kol yemei chayai, lachazot b'noam Adonai. Uvaker Lachazot b'noam Adonai, to gaze upon the beauty of Adonai. One thing I ask you, Adonai, to be with you all of my life. Let's try that together. One thing. I ask you, Adonai, to be with you all of my life. Echad Sha'alti. Echad Sha'alti me'et Adonai. Echad Sha'alti otavakesh.
In our Misha Berach prayer, our prayer for healing, we call upon the God of our ancestors to heal all those who are in need of healing, all who are ill of body, of spirit, of mind. For some of us, this prayer for healing aligns with our understanding of the divine. But for others, we may ask, why call upon God? Why pray, now that we have all the strides and achievements we've made in modern medicine? We pray because we know prayer can provide its own form of healing. It can transform fear into faith and hopelessness into hope. We call upon not just God, but the God of our ancestors to remind us that it is up to us as a community, as a people, to come together to support one another in the process of healing. Tonight, I invite all of us to hold in our hearts both all those in this community and in our lives who are in need of healing, as well as all of the medical professionals who help to provide that healing. This Shabbat, our community thinks of John Apshul, Gary Ashland, Stephen Baird, Vicki Beard, Stuart Berkeley, Richard Bernard, Lisa Bird, Murray Blank, Dabby Blatt, Elaine Blatt, Louise Cantrell, Wayne Cantrell, Gail Ehrlich, Tino Felipe, Marty Frank, Brad Greenberg, Stephen Hochstein, Don Hollis, Tim Jordan, Heidi Kebis, Daryl Levine, Ralph Levy Jr., Peter Mackler, Larry Mendelson, Zachary Pierce, Tammy Rabowski, Keith Rand, Ben Reback, Arlene Regan, Ivan Rosenberg, Lowell Selvin, Henry Sommerfeld, Fran Solomon, Barbara Thompson, David Suriel, Stephen Valentino, Eitan Wolf, and David Ben-Hersha Vibasha. If there are any other names that you are thinking of tonight, I invite you to share them aloud if you're with us in person or to write them online in the chat. The words to our prayer for healing, the Misha Berach, can be found in your insert.
Misha Berach Avoteinu, Avraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov. Misha Berach Imoteinu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, veRachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Misha Berach Avoteinu, Avraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov. Mishem Berach Imoteinu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, Rachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Earlier this week, happened upon a groundbreaking archaeological study that was published in the United Kingdom. And this archaeological study has actually taken the Jewish world by storm. Those of you active on social media may have seen it, or as they call it, J-Twitter. It's been sort of making the rounds. In 2004, builders working on a new shopping center in Norwich, England, uncovered the remnants of a medieval well containing the mortal remains of what turned out to be 17 individuals. Judging by the location and dispersion of the remains, it is clear that these individuals were not formally buried or laid to rest, but instead were likely the victims of murderous violence before being cast down the well. Seeking to solve the mystery of who these individuals might have been and how they came to meet such a brutal end, researchers applied the modern techniques of carbon dating and DNA analysis to the remains of 6 individuals to learn as much as they could. What they discovered is significant, not only for historians of medieval England, but also for the Jewish people and the larger history of anti-Semitism. You see, DNA analysis revealed that the individuals found in this medieval well did not have a similar genetic makeup to that of present-day British or Northern European folks, but instead held closer similarities with modern Turkish, North African, and especially Ashkenazi Jews. Included in this was the realization that their DNA also showed characteristic elements. I couldn't go into the details, not my field of expertise, but they showed the elements that translate to genetic diseases that are very particular to Ashkenazi Jews. For those of you who may have joined us last October, you might remember we brought in a speaker from the City of Hope who explained to us that these genetic diseases and certain propensity for other diseases are often the result of population bottlenecking. When a community's population drastically decreases in a short period of time and continues to marry within the community leading to less genetic diversity. Since the carbon dating narrowed the time period of their deaths between 1160 and 1215 CE, evidence of these genetic diseases predates the earliest period when researchers thought the bottlenecking took place, and it predated their earliest estimates by a couple of centuries. So that's significant in and of itself. And knowing the time period also provided some historical context for potentially why these individuals, three of whom we think were sisters between the ages of 18 and 5, met such a terrible end. You see, within that 50-year window in 1190 CE, we know from historical records that Norwich was the site of mass anti-Semitic violence in the early stages of the Third Crusade. In the chronicle of medieval author named Ralph de Decedo, he writes that on February 6, 1190, all the Jews who were found in their own houses at Norwich were butchered. Some had taken refuge in the castle, end quote. This kind of event was unfortunately common during the various crusades when religious fervor swept across Europe and Christian soldiers en route to reclaim the Holy Land for Christendom ran rampages across Europe, slaughtering Jews in their path. The pain and trauma of the Crusades left an indelible mark on European Jewish communities, one that we even still feel today in the way that we hold our services and do worship. You see, it wasn't until this painful period in Jewish history that the Kaddish prayer, before then it had been reserved as a sort of place marker between different parts of the service, or specifically used in the Beit Midrash in medieval houses of study as a way of concluding a section of study. This was transformed into an expression of mourning and remembrance. And we gained another form of the Kaddish referred to as Kaddish Yatom. We would translate most days as the mourner's Kaddish, but it literally means the orphan's Kaddish because of so many children who were left orphaned in the wake of that violence. Beyond shedding light on the horrors of anti-Semitic violence that swept across Europe during the Crusades, the finding has also deepened our understanding of classic anti-Semitic tropes that, I'm very sorry to say, continue to spread today. For one, the remains of a little boy estimated to be aged between infancy and the age of 3, had a DNA sequence showing that he had blue eyes and red hair. Physical features closely associated with classic historical European stereotypes of Jews. And even more importantly, the town of Norwich is infamous in the history of anti-Semitism as the setting for the earliest historical reference of the blood libel myth, which accuses Jews of murdering Christian children for ritual purposes. As Dr. Adam Rutherford notes in a Twitter thread in 1044, or it might be 1144. Don't quote me on that. The family of a boy named William claimed that the local Jews murdered him, a claim that became prevalent across Europe in the following centuries and unfortunately continues to stoke anti-Semitic violence today. William became a local folk saint in Norwich known as Saint William, and many towns across Europe venerate similar saints, children that were supposedly murdered by Jews. I remember in college, I spent a summer studying abroad in Spain, and in many, many different Spanish towns, these smaller towns, the patron saint that they venerate during specific holidays, even to this day, their patron saint is a young Christian child supposedly murdered by Jews. The blood libel myth was key in sparking anti-Semitic sentiment amongst Christians all over Europe. and eventually played a major role in the series of expulsions of Jews beginning in England in 1290 and culminating with the Spanish and Portuguese expulsions of 1492 and 1493. I know at this point you might be wondering, Rabbi, what is up with the history lesson? I did not come here to services for history class. Some people are saying that they did. Fair, my kind of people. I understand that history, and especially medieval history, often feels really distant from our present day, from modern times. But unfortunately, we don't need to look far to see the dangers of anti-Semitism and the violence it creates running rampant through our world today. Just this week, a man named Eyal Haddad was murdered with an axe in his apartment just outside of Paris. And the killer, who later turned himself in just a few days after what happened, initially claimed the motive as a $100 debt that was owed to him, but eventually admitted that he in part killed Haddad because he was indeed Jewish. And just last week, we here at Congregation Kol Ami hosted a summit for the city of West Hollywood on combating anti-Semitism. And for those who joined us, and the recording is still online, I encourage you to go and check it out. We had some fantastic presentations from folks from the Jewish Federation, from the ADL. We learned firsthand of the spike in anti-Semitic violence and terror throughout the country. So we see that the scourge of Jew hatred that ended the lives of those poor souls in the well in Norwich nearly 1,000 years ago is still alive and well in the 21st century. Knowing the history of anti-Jewish and anti-Semitic hatred can show us that despite what many may claim, the hatred of the Jewish people is not confined to certain political parties or persuasions. It is a cancer that can appear in many different ways, in many different contexts, and if left untreated, can be deadly. Anti-Semitism and most other modern forms of hate almost always come from a place of fear. A fear of difference, of people that are different from you, a fear of the other, someone who isn't like you. Many say that anti-Semitism will never fully go away, but instead morphs into new forms in each age. Others say that with education and advocacy, we can eventually root it out. In all honesty, I'm not quite sure where I stand. My heart tells me that with enough dedication and resources, we can remove this cancer from our world fully. But my head, guided as it is by the precedents of history, tells me that it will always find a way to appear. Regardless, what remains true is the need for us to be wary and watchful as Jews, to call out anti-Semitism and hatred wherever we see it, and to constantly strive to placing safeguards around our community. Unfortunately, we in the Jewish world must always prepare for the worst. And unfortunately, we know from experience that the worst may be lurking around the corner. This week's Torah portion, Parashat Shoftim, includes the clarion call of Tzedek, Tzedek Tirdof. Justice, justice you shall pursue. The medieval commentator Abraham ibn Ezra understands this phrase to mean that we should pursue justice whether we stand to gain or whether we stand to lose in the process. We often hold this verse up as our call to the larger pursuit of justice for our country and our world. But we shouldn't forget the obligation it places on us to pursue justice for our own safety and benefit as well. In fact, the struggle against hatred is in many ways intertwined, as we learn from the social justice activist Eric Ward. And so as we show up to advocate for other communities, we should also not be shy or bashful in asking them to show up for us. Whether it is the 17 individuals who tragically met an untimely end in 12th century England, or those who have been victims of violence in recent years, far too many bright souls, people made in the image of God, have been lost simply because of the fear and hatred of the mob. The remains found in Norwich were laid to rest with traditional Jewish burial rites. May the recently uncovered memory of them and the history they've taught us not go unnoticed. May we heed their call, and may we fight for the justice that they were deprived of. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be God's will, and Shabbat Shalom. It's now my honor and privilege to invite up a member of our Board of Trustees, Yafa Hughes, who will share some words on behalf of the congregation. Yeah, use this one. Unless, do you want to use this one? Is it easier for you? Come on, it's a little bit closer here. Come on up this way. Give me a chance to get some water.
Shabbat Shalom. I'm Yafa Hughes, and I'm also a member of the Board of Trustees. And on behalf of the Congregation Kol Ami, we all want to wish you a Shabbat Shalom. Thank you also to Lisa Edwards. Let's give Lisa Edwards a round of applause. Thank you for always giving me such wonderful music this evening. I feel it's just for me when you come here. The rumor is true. It is our 30th year of Kol Ami. If you have not renewed your membership yet, please do so this week. You will receive your high holiday tickets. You will not receive your high holiday tickets unless you renew your membership and have paid your first quarter dues. So that you can get those, let's go ahead and take care of that membership. And if you have been considering joining our amazing congregation, now is the time to do so. No reason to be shy. You can do so by calling our office, or you can go to the website and fill out the membership form. Members, you can also renew your membership online, or also you can elect automatic renewal at Kol Ami and make things so much easier. The high holidays are only 4 weeks away. Rosh Hashanah begins Sunday night, September 25th. All of our services will be held right here at Kol Ami this year in honor of our 30th anniversary. The information about the holy days went out both by mail and email. You must register and let us know which services you will attend in person. Now, there will be limited seating, so sign up for tickets now. Let us know which service you'll be attending. Also, make sure that you submit your Yisker book entry, and also buy a paper book if you need. Again, members, if you have paid your first quarter dues, you will automatically receive your tickets electronically. Services will also be available by special Zoom link, and all members will automatically be registered by Zoom. Now, let us all join Rabbi Levy at 9:30 a.m. on the next 3 Wednesdays on all our streaming platforms, Facebook Live, YouTube, and our website and help us prepare spiritually for the high holy days during the month of Elul. 9:30 a.m. Rabbi is a bit of a morning person. So set your alarms. I'm talking to myself here. Drop in on our book club on Saturday, September 10 at 4 p.m. This month we are reading the story of Kurdish Jews in My Father's Paradise, the true story of a Kurdish Jewish family. It is a National Book Critics Circle Award winner. This is online. Come for the conversation. Mark your calendar, Saturday night, September 17th, it is Slichot. The special evening truly kicks off our high holiday observances. This year, we will begin with a picnic dinner at 6:30 p.m. and then a special performance by the Braid Theater Company of the play Refuse No More. Is that Braid or Broad? Braid. Okay. This play is about true personal stories of the Soviet Jew, the life left behind, and a surprising, moving American journey being forged, including by one of our own temple member, Dr. Leela Lukowski, and then the moving slick hole service outside on our roof deck. Don't miss it. As always, we hope you will keep up to date on all that is happening at Congregation Kol Ami by visiting our website often at kol-ami.org. That's kol-ami.org. Remember, you can register for all of our online and in-person programs. And while you are visiting our website, please consider a donation to our synagogue to support all the vital work and all the awesome programs that we do here all year long. And if you don't already get it delivered to your box, our twice-a-week email, Ikalenu, also has all the information and more. Thank you so much, and Shabbat Shalom. Oh, great. Bring the stick and everything, embarrassing.
Thank you, Yafa. As we move into the concluding portion of our service, I'll invite you to turn to page 78 as we rise together as a community. And the ark is opened for Aleinu L'Shabeach. Aleinu L'Shabeach La'adon HaKol La'tet Gedula Le'otzeh Breshit Shelo Asanu K'goyei Haratzot Velo Samanu K'mishpachot Ha'adama Shelo Sam Chelkeinu Kahem V'gor Aleinu Kechol Hamonam V'anachnu Korim משתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו echad. Please be seated. As we reach the end of our service, our hearts now turn to those whom we loved and lost, whether they left this world at this season in years past, or they were lost in recent weeks, months, or days. On this Shabbat, Congregation Kol Ami is remembering Claire Chakey Finkel, mother of Joshua Finkel, Reuben Steinman, relative of Stephen Steinman, Rick Lead, husband of Joseph Zipkin, Edie Bernstein, mother of Alan Bernstein, Leon Lapovich, grandfather of Robert Bergstein, all of whom are memorialized with yahrzeit plaques here in our sanctuary, as well as Rod Bergman, father of Kim Bergman, Max Poliakov, grandfather of Dr. Mark Litwin, Bob Tor, uncle of Bonnie Brown, Edward Lelyveld, brother-in-law of Adelaide Lelyveld and uncle of Philip Lelyveld, Rose Handman, aunt of Martin Handman, and Leonard Friedel, the uncle of Mark Freeman. We are also remembering at this time Erwin Sonny Citron, Marvin Edelman, Paul Morgan Fredericks, Paula Tabor, Ann Pendo, Linda Bacalayan, Muriel Stein, Ruben Ibarra, Marianne Waxner, Claudia Morton, Ron Stoner, Alyssa Bentley, Sandy Saltzman, Jay Solor, Shirley Rosenberg, Brandon Lux, Nadine Holt, Christopher Hughes, Joseph Loquito, Evelyn Ruth Rich, Keith Cantrell, Rob Schlesinger, Leona Bander, Marlene Bram, Herb Jacobson, Richard Frank, Lou Vicinelli, Dave Hall, Howard Romanoff, Greg Sonkin, Ruth Forster Williams, Reba Goldman, Michael Simmental, Victor Escobar, Alvin Gross, Ernie Benson, Kathy Weiss, and we mourn with sadness the recent passing of Ellen Metzner, the cousin of Toby Rosen, and Janice Houghton Levi, the mother of Larry Levi. To these names, we add those of your own loved ones. If there's anyone that you're remembering at this time, whether it be a yahrzeit, a period of Shiva or Shloshim, or just someone that you're thinking of, I invite you to share their names aloud with our community. Invite those of you joining us online to share the names of your loved ones as well. Zichronam livracha, may their memories forever bless our lives. And we turn to page 86 and rise together as one community for Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei t'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yit'halal shmei dekudesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru, amen. May the source of peace bring peace to us, to Israel, and to all who are in mourning, and let us say, amen. Before we have the opportunity to learn a little bit more from our student Rabbi Frankie, it's customary, I'll invite you to remain standing, it's customary that during the month of Elul you sound the shofar every day, is awakening our hearts, awakening our ears a little bit for the upcoming holiday season.
Baruch Adonai, Shomea, Truah. Blessed are you, Adonai, who hears the sounding of thy shofar. Tekiah. Shvarim Truah. Tekiah. May the call of the shofar center us this Shabbat as we find ourselves centered in the month of Elul. May the call of the shofar awaken God to bless all of us, to hearken the words of our prayers and our hearts that we have shared this evening. And may the call of the shofar awaken us this Shabbat, to open ourselves to the divine and to hear God's call. Baruch atah Adonai, shomea tefilatenu v'korea likrov. Blessed are you, Adonai, who hears our prayers and who calls us to draw near. Shabbat shalom.
Amen. We'll conclude with the final words of our Kaddish prayer, Oseh Shalom B'Romav. Oseh Shalom B'Romav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu. Oseh Shalom B'Romav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu. Oseh Shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Say shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Say shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Shabbat shalom, everyone.